This show is supported by you. Stick around till the break to hear more about that. Welcome back to Cup of Go for September 13th, 2025. Keep up to date with the important happenings in the Go community in about 15 minutes per week, almost every week. I'm Shai Ahmad. Welcome back.
How you feeling, man?
I'm feeling a lot better. I had a stomach bug, they just like shut you down for a day.
I had an infected tooth and couldn't do anything either. So I'm glad we're both back in the saddle again, ready to talk about Go news.
Yeah, and since we missed a week, there are a few things we bumped to the backlog that's not going to make it this show. And I think this show is also probably going to be a little bit longer. Mm-hmm. Although people like listening on their podcast things, they already know what the length of the show is. I don't know yet.
True.
But we bumped, we know that the JSON V2 blog is out. We'll talk about it some other time. And we know that Google has announced the GenKit 1.0 thing. And we bumped that as well. We just want to get some hands-on time with it before we actually talk about it on the show. So we know we missed some stuff, but we'll try to get you up to speed. And thank you for your patience letting us take a week off.
Yeah. First up, we have new point releases. This actually happened a week and a half ago, 9 days ago. So it's not that new. We would have talked about it last week if we'd been around, but Go 1.25.1 and 1.24.7 have both been released.
Yeah, and it's with one of these bugs that's like, I literally imagine the Go team going like, the screen going black and white and the audio getting kind of crackly and be like, is this ever happened to you? And you see like a hapless housewife like trying to do the dishes and they fall out of their hands,
Yeah.
So has this ever happened to you, Jonathan? You're trying to configure your API endpoints, but you're uncertain whether you should add a leading slash or not.
Yeah, that happens all the time. Or trailing slashes or middle slashes or forward or back slashes. My gosh, slashes are so confusing.
So for just $9.99, so 3 simple payments, Go's course protection now doesn't exempt things without the missing slashes, which I'm sure is going to be an actually strict 50% split of people who did it one way and people who did it another way because it's just random. But yeah, it's like when you did a pattern and you added the like an insecure bypass pattern, some extra patterns without the slash were also exempted. And because it's like a security bypass, they were like, hey, if you want the extra slash, you put it there as well. This is one of those things that's mostly useful for development. Like you shouldn't have insecure bypass patterns on production normally for cross origin.
Yeah. Right.
So as a developer, you'll immediately notice that it happened after you upgrade and just add a slash to the pattern. So it's not a huge downgrade in terms of dev experience, but it is better in terms of security. So,
yeah.
And I know we both discussed this before the show. It's like we understand what cross origin policy means theoretically, right?
Right. Yeah.
What is it then?
Oh, you're putting me on the spot now.
We all know it, just for the other people.
Yeah, right.
Before the show, we talked about like how everybody knows conceptually what cross origin is, but how it always gets a little fuzzy to actually explain
super fuzzy.
It.
Yeah.
We won't go into the details right now, but it's just a security feature in HTTP web servers.
And if you don't know what it is conceptually, don't feel too bad either. It's not really.
It's confusing, man.
It's confusing, and it only matters if you're really doing web front end development. For the most part,
you should know it if you're doing web.
If you're doing web front end, you should know it. If you're not, don't worry about
it. Yes, but now it's slightly more secure.
So that's our security release out of the way. We have a couple other community releases we'll be talking about, but first, I guess this is also a release. GopherCon Europe has released all of their videos from the conference. So if you didn't make it to GopherCon Europe, or if you want to relive the experience, on their YouTube channel, they have 17 talks up. There's some good ones on here from Dave Cheney, from the Go team, Brittany Ellish. There's a bunch here, Jonathan Amsterdam. Have you watched any of these, Shai? Anything of them that jumped out at you?
I have not yet. I've actually been waiting for you to
summarize.
I love their format. They have like talking about topics and then lightning talks. I wonder who they aped to that format from. There's one thing, speakers versus the audience game show.
Ooh,
man, that I don't know what's going on there, but I feel bad for missing it. Like the FOMO is real.
I also really like their music. Anyway, one talk that really jumped out at me was one from Damian Neal about testing time.
We mentioned this in the past.
Yes, we have.
And now it's the future.
Whoa.
Even though when you change the past, you remember that scene from the latest Avengers?
I haven't seen any of the Avengers, but I'm sure that most of our audience have.
So there's the last one is like a time travel movie. It's basically Back to the Future with superheroes.
Okay.
And there's one scene where the Hulk explains like, you can't go back to the future and change your past. Because if you change the past, you're changing someone else's future. Blah, blah, blah.
Nice.
So that's what's going on with this topic, right? Of testing time, basically.
Yes. So I don't remember last episode or a couple episodes ago, we talked about the blog post. It was also incidentally written by Damian Neal about testing time. Similar title to the talk. Interesting. And it's really just about the testing sync test package, which gives you some extra levers to pull when you're testing code that depends on time in asynchronous ways. I'm sure we've all written tests where you like, oh, I have to wait for this thing to finish. I'm going to do a sleep 1 second or something like that. And so you sleep to let some background process do its thing. And you hope that's long enough and that your CI pipeline isn't so slow on running on some slow server that 1 second is actually long enough for it to happen. This is a way to not do that. The testing sync test package basically lets you sort of wait until all Go routines are blocking and waiting for something to happen and then advance to the next thing. So if you have something that's waiting, one Go routine that's waiting on another Go routine to complete something, then once all Go routines are blocked waiting on each other, that means that thing is probably completed. Now we can move on to the next bit in your test without sleeping arbitrarily long amounts of time. I've really oversimplified it because I want you to go read the blog post and or watch the video of Damian talking about this rather than listening to me talk about it.
I will say that this is a problem that I've faced. Like a lot of the things we talk about, the Go announcement, the security release we just mentioned, it's like something global. It's HTTP thing, but it's specific to Go. And the next thing we're going to talk about, Go Thumped and Naked Returns, is like a super specific Go thing that doesn't exist in any other language, right? But this problem of like dealing with time in tests is super universal. I just want to say, if you work in other languages alongside Go, like myself, there's equivalent things in other languages as well, but only as third-party libraries. For example, Python, I used to use freeze gun a lot to like eliminate flakiness from tests, which lets the test like freeze the time at a specific time for that test using a decorator.
Right.
And I think in JavaScript there's Sinon, which is way harder to use. And this is just a very universal problem in general. Indeed. And it kind of sucks that, every single testing course I see is all about like writing tests, but not with dealing with this problems that happen on every single software project that of like sufficient complexity that I work on. It's like, so Go having it as part of the standard library, just again, standard. It's just part of, it goes to show when people say Go is like production language or like a real business language, it like deals with pains that actual software developers have and not like fancy nonsense that nobody cares about. Because I've dealt with this problem maybe 5 times already in my software career.
Yeah, it comes up fairly often for me too.
If I used to work to resolve this myself, is like are you happy with like the API of testing sync test?
I've only played with it a little bit. It's simpler than I would have invented myself. So yes, I'm happy for it in that sense. Like they did
better than the code I would write is pretty at a pretty low bar. I know for you it's a higher bar, but for me it's like.
So just like when I think about trying to solve that problem, the solutions I come up with are much more complicated than what they have, which is great that they've taken the time to think it through and come up with a simple approach to a fairly complex problem. What I don't know yet from experience is if it will solve all of my time-related testing problems. I'll have to play with it for probably a couple of years before I figure that out. But it's definitely will help me in a number of cases. I have some test cases I could go back and rewrite now. I have one bug I'm trying to debug on a project that's about timing. I'm actually looking at rewriting those tests with sync tests to see if that helps isolate the bug. So yeah, I think it's a great step in the right direction, a huge step in the right direction for making these tests easier to deal with.
Yeah, and both the talk and the blog post are the type of blog posts that I like, which are like a story. It's not like, here's how to use the new sync test. If you need that, just go to the sync test documentation. But if you want to like understand the story behind it and the experiment and what's going on right now, you should definitely like read it top to bottom. It's pretty good. And I assume, people will start using sync test and will just collect feedback and issues. And now it's just part of the standard library and we'll improve it.
Yeah.
Cool. As mentioned, this is an audio format, right?
Thank goodness.
You can't see it, but we're both naked right now.
I
don't know how to segue from that to the fact that this release is on Naked Returns. So I'll just say I said it because it's on Naked Returns. Looking at the relevant issue, I see it's by someone. Ooh, who is this handsome fellow?
Oh my goodness!
It's like all you need to do is search for the word naked in Go related repositories, and you'll find Jonathan there. So you opened this on October 2023, which is forever ago.
Yeah.
Is it before we started? When did we start it? Never mind. No, it's not.
No, I think we'd already started the show.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So can you explain what are naked returns and why do you hate them so much?
I have a whole video about this.
I know.
I'll put a link to that for anybody who's missed it. But the TLDR, a naked return in Go, you're allowed to name your return variables when you define a function, right? So you might have a function that returns an int and error. Maybe you call it count and ERR. So you name your return values. If you do that,
I still have to type them. I do like count int and then error.
Yeah, right.
Error.
You have to type them in the function definition. But then in the function body, when you return, you're allowed to then just say return without telling the values that you return, and it returns whatever those values are that may have been set in the function or not. But that's called a naked return. And I hate them because they're so hard to read.
So when I write the names in the function signature, it basically it's not part of the function signature. Like in the physical space it is, but it's actually two variable definition lines in the function thing.
It like automatically declares those values to their zero value when the function starts. So then you can just do a naked return without any arguments, and it just fills in those existing values and returns those.
Now very smart.
Yeah, except that it makes code almost unreadable or less readable, I should say. Because you don't know, like if you're looking at a return, you don't know what those values are, then you have to go back and read the function to see what those values have been set to. If they're being set to, maybe the error has been set to a non-null value and you're returning an error and you don't know it. So it just makes code really unreadable. And maybe what's even worse, if you have closures within your function like that, and maybe a closure just has an early return because it's maybe it's a closure that returns nothing. Or maybe it's a closure that returns something different than what your outer function returns. It's really hard to compare those returns with the returns in the larger scope. You don't know what's what. Is it a naked return because this closure has no return values? Is it a naked return because it's part of this other thing? Naked returns just make code unreadable. I can't think of any reason they actually should ever exist. To be clever, they're slightly less typing, but even that problem is now solved.
Yes, if you use the new release of gophumpt, which is they actually released a minor bug fix since then, but the minor version 0.9. So gophumpt, GOFUMPT, is like a slightly stricter version of Go format, GoFMT. I like it. I now bring it on by default to any project because just the less I can care about style, but the more consistent my code is, the better. And I've found that this is extra true for now that I'm using agents to work on my code a lot. So Clothe code and cursor background agents and all that funky nonsense. They like it when all the code looks very much the same and is very readable. So a tool like gophumpt really helps in that regard. And their new release 0.9 is very conservative values. It's all about clothing all the naked returns, which I think is a crazy good branding for this PR. Have you turned it on? Does it work?
Well, I know it works because I wrote it and I tested it. I'm actually, so I usually use GoFont as part of Golang CI Lint. So I'm looking forward to this version being included in the next version, hopefully, of Golang CI Lint, which will make it automatically included in all my workflows.
Cool. Anyway, a proposal from John, all the way from like proposing to implementation. I like it. Do you think I'll ever make it to like Go FMT, or is that not a thing?
I would love that, but I doubt it.
Why not? Like, what's stopping you from opening that issue on the Go, or is it just like not important enough in your opinion?
Maybe I could. I mean, in my opinion, the negative returns are just a misfeature of the language in the first place. So at least automating them away in this sense is a step in the right direction. My feeling is that like GoFumped, when it was originally created, was sort of intended as a test bed for new features to potentially go into Go FMT. I'm not aware of any of those features that have ever been backported to the original.
It feels kind of weird to have a feature in a language and then have Go FMT, which literally automatically runs on every save on every IDE that has like the Go tooling enabled, to disable that feature. It feels like a really roundabout, like just patch them out of the language or something. But it's not that important. Like it reduces code readability a little bit.
A little bit. Yeah.
But very, very cool.
Happy to have it there. We've been chatting for a little bit. Let's go ahead and take a quick break. We'll come back with a few more stories before we end the program.
Like mentioned on the top of the show, this show is supported by you. We have a Patreon, and you can contribute a few bucks a month to help us run this fun but rather expensive hobby. We pay for editing, hosting fees, our time. Well, we don't pay for our time. We sort of donate our time. This is a hobby. We do it for fun and to learn, but it's still like your direct support is very much appreciated. If you want to find that link or reach us in any of our other links, which include our Slack channel and our email and our swag store and whatever, all past episodes with transcripts, which I've been recently using to like try and find people I remember we interviewed, but I don't exactly remember what they said. Use kapago.dev. You can find all the links there, or email us at news@kapago.dev. That is news@kapago.dev. Other than giving us money by joining our Patreon, you can support the show by sharing about it. A lot of people have been joining the Slack recently. I've noticed that every time I open the Slack channel, like I see, oh, X has joined, Y has joined. I've been trying to like react with a wave emoji, which is not like the most in-depth like gratitude I could give, just because we're like hundreds of people at this point. But we really, really appreciate anyone who joins the channel and like even just lurks around. I'll just shout out Adam Uri, who just joined like this Tuesday. Hey, Adam, thank you for joining the Kapago channel. And all the rest of like the 608 of you. I can't mention all of you by name. But Adam, you won. You're mentioned on this week's episode. So yeah, we really like it when people join the show and join the community. So please leave a review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or just wherever you listen to your podcast. Share the show with a friend or a colleague or a co-student. If you learn something interesting, like mention us. We have a few people that mention us regularly. The weekly Go newsletter, Applied Go, always mentions us, which is very nice. But yeah, there's a lot of cool discussions on the Slack channel, and we're very happy to see like the show doing numbers. It doesn't mean anything because we do it for learning, but I don't know. It really makes me feel good just going into Transistor, which is the software we use to manage the show, and seeing like how many people listen. And seeing like the discussions on Slack, even though theoretically it shouldn't matter. To me, it matters. I don't know how you feel about it, Jonathan.
It's fun. I mean, yeah, this show has had a much bigger impact than I ever would have imagined when we started.
We just passed 150,000 all-time downloads.
Wow.
Yeah, which is pretty crazy. I mean, we have 125 episodes, so it works out like it makes sense. Mm-hmm. But it's just a really big number.
Yes.
Cool. Other than that, this show is this week sponsored by boldlygo.tech.
Woohoo! That sounds familiar.
Are you looking for fractional gophering? Is that a good way to put it?
Sure. That's a great way to put it.
Why don't you tell us what boldlygo.tech is?
I would love to. I have some availability coming up beginning of next month to help you and your team improve your Go projects, especially when it comes to architecture or how to structure your projects, how to get a project off the ground. I've helped several clients rescue a project from an agency that maybe didn't know go all that well, or maybe an LLM that didn't know go that well. So if that's the kind of thing you could use some expert help with, and you don't necessarily need a full-time person on board, look me up. Prices are probably more reasonable than you would expect to hire somebody with the sort of experience I have making fools of myself on podcasts.
Yeah, join brands you know and trust already, like Canonical, Unity, Deliveroo, Booking, and Teamwork. You're already running Jonathan's code in production.
Probably
it's clothing all your returns right now. And, there are some customer testimonials on the site as well. But, John, you're listening to the show. He knows what he's talking about. If you need, help scaling up a code Go base, or frustrated with the output of like offshore agency or just a pretty bad team on your company, although that's harder to admit, or you have like a brand new Go project on the company roadmap and you want to start it fresh and you want to start it right and make sure that it grows, in a sustainable way, you can get the world-class Go development subscription over at boldlygo.tech. Thank you for sponsoring the show.
Woohoo! Thank you for letting me sponsor the show.
Yeah, it's kind of... one last thing for this break. I am planning a San Francisco meetup, and I'm having woes. I've already settled on a date. This is just if you're in the Bay Area. Listen, if not, you can zone out for the next 30 seconds. It's supposed to be October 23rd. I am looking for a place to host it. So there's one guy, Akshay Shah. I think he's a listener, actually, who's looking for a place. And I'm also looking for a place with, I think, another company. I will not name them in case they won't actually deliver. But if you're in the Bay Area, October 23rd, definitely clear your calendars. But I won't send the Eventbrite thing until I have a place to actually run it at. Because I don't want to cancel last minute because I don't have a company who's willing to host it. So if you're in the Bay Area, find me a place to host. I'm just doing it on WeWorks, and I really don't want the meetup to happen at a WeWork. That's super expensive personally for me. I might be able to get them to sponsor it. I'm trying to talk to them right now. But if you can help me, please help me. But remember, I just moved here. I'm new. But if it will happen, it's very exciting, and Josh Bleeker-Snyder will be there, and it'll be a lot of fun. It'll also be really close to my birthday, which is October 19th. So we'll probably have a party. That's it for the break. We took a break off last week, so we have some more topics to discuss. So let's just go to the next part of the show.
Let's do it. I want to talk about building bulletproof leader election and Kubernetes operators, a deep dive.
That's a smooth...
This is a blog post.
Yeah.
This is a
What's
blog
up,
post.
Ishai?
Yeah, this is a blog post with Ishai. Sure. So this probably is really more a Kubernetes related post than a Go related post, although the code is written in Go. So if you sit at that cross section between Go and Kubernetes, this post is really probably best for you. But do you understand leader election, Shai? Do you understand the problem this claims to be trying to solve?
Yes, I'll avoid all the political commentary, especially this week. And, if you read books like Designing Data-Intensive Applications, or if you learned about distributed computing, or if you have ever had to maintain Kubernetes clusters, I've had to do all three, you realize the problem that multiple computers are not necessarily better than one. And you have a few computers and one that needs to delegate tasks between them. And I'm intentionally using simple language because this is actually a simple problem. When you layer it with all the nonsense Kubernetes words, it sounds complicated.
Yeah.
But in reality, it's very simple. You have 5 computers and you want them all to do tasks, but somehow they need to choose who's doing which task and who's doing what, right? Just a general problem in distributed computing. One way to resolve it is to say, okay, computer number 1 is the leader and it will allocate the tasks or load the balance or whatever. However, one of the problems when you're distributing computing is that if one of the nodes goes down, if one of the workers goes down, that's not a huge problem, right? Because, the leader can decide, okay, it went down, it's not responding to pings anymore, I won't send it any more tasks. But if the leader goes down, not zero of the tasks are getting allocated anymore. So if the leader goes down, one way to resolve it is leader election. I'm trying to get to the leaders and all the workers are trying to get to a leader. And if all the workers are getting to a consensus that the leader is down, maybe it has network issues, maybe it has a power failure, maybe it has software failure, but it's not working anymore, we need to elect a new one, right? Mm-hmm. And leader election is the process through which it happens. And it's important because it's distributed. Like now you have a bunch of computers that don't have a leader telling them what to do, and they need to agree on a new one in a very consistent way. So you could say it doesn't really matter who's the leader, right? Because it's just a bunch of computers, so just do random. But then you'll be in a terrible situation where everybody thinks someone else is the leader and nobody's doing any work. That's my understanding of the problem.
I think you summarized it pretty well. That last bit kind of sounds like our podcast. Like we don't know who the leader is, so none of us do anything.
Yeah, other than Philip.
Yeah. So anyway, the blog post goes into some of the previous examples of how this is done. I'm not going to go into the details because the specifics are boring unless you're deep into this world. And why some of them aren't ideal, and then it offers their own solution, which is to use a config map based leader election, which claims to be simple and transparent, Kubernetes native, which explains why that term doesn't make any sense if you don't know Kubernetes, reliable and observable. So and it goes through as the title claims, a deep dive. It's not the deepest dive. You're not going to start hemorrhaging because this is too complicated if you want to read it through it. But it goes through some of the code that does different parts of this, the observability, the leader election, atomic acquisition. Yeah, it's a nice summary.
One thing I like that Yishai shared in the blog is the test cases. It's like such a really good way to understand what problems you need to deal with. So he just shares I'm sure it's not all of them, but he shared okay, so we need to test the leader election scenario. So fresh election, you just boot up a cluster and nobody is we need to figure it out. Take over from a dead pod, take over from a stale leader, respect the active leader. That's such a good way to explain what this feature does without actually sharing all the code. Which is really, really great. And Shai, just another banger. I liked his talk on the latest San Francisco meetup. And we actually play basketball together, so I'm kind of biased. But another shot from three. It's on Medium, so go give him a clap, which is my least favorite of the social media interactions. It's so performative, and when you click on it on Medium, you know what I'm talking about? The clap button.
Oh yeah. Uh-huh.
It does a single clap, which is the most cynical thing you can do after someone gives you something. Exactly, it's just so awkward. The chances that the UX designer for Medium is listening is 0 to this show. But if someone knows them, tell them that this gives me Schadenfreude on unimaginable levels. Just clicking that button.
All right. A couple of quick updates before we move on to the lightning round on proposals. The first one
on past news items.
Yes,
I like it when we do that, when we do follow-ups. Makes me feel like a real journalist.
Ooh. So back in August on the 23rd, in episode 123, we mentioned the proposal to deprecate the XNet context package. That proposal has been accepted. So shouldn't really change anything, as we talked about in that episode. Go listen to it if you want the full details. But that will be deprecated. Don't use it anymore. You shouldn't have been using it for ages anyway, but definitely don't use it now.
Yeah, I actually wasn't aware it existed. If you lived your life without knowing that this package existed, now you're good. You don't have to catch up.
Vindicated, yes. And the other one I'm actually a little bit more excited about for fairly obvious reasons, which will become apparent, is the proposal we also talked about back in episode 118 from July of this year. A proposal to add an expression to create a pointer to simple types. This brought some discussion on the Slack channel that you mentioned. People talking about when would, I think your point, Shai, was when would you ever use this? And my point was I use it all the frickin' time. And we got some back and forth about that on the Slack channel. This proposal was proposed by Rob Pike. And the last comment as of this recording is also by Rob Pike, which reflects on the final or probably final version. So that this is now likely accepted. It hasn't officially been accepted. Next week, we'll likely have an update that says it's been accepted. The proposal is to change the way new works. So right now, new takes a type. Mm-hmm. They're proposing to let it also take a value. So it can take either type or an expression value or a value expression. And if it's a value, then it just creates a pointer to that value rather than a pointer to the empty value of the type. And Rob's comment is, as explained several times in my various pieces of this conversation, I would prefer the type to be explicit. That is, that the expression is an optional second argument. But since this proposal appears to be reaching closure and the final version does solve a long-standing problem, I can only celebrate. Thank you. I tend to agree.
I really love that approach of disagree and commit.
Yes. I completely agree with Rob's sentiment here.
When I had like high-level engineers, high level meaning, highly performing, like staff level people, this was one of the things that separated like people on the senior level to the people on the staff level. Like, even if you're 100% sure in your conviction, when it's not critical, disagree and commit and move on and do it super respectfully. This is like a masterclass.
Yeah.
Very, very cool.
I tend to agree with Rob. I would prefer an explicit thing rather than this argument that takes two magical meanings. But I don't really care. If I have this capability in the language, I will use it no matter what it looks like. I don't care how you spell it. I will use it.
Yes. I have actually an interesting question to you here. So if I'm a newcomer to the language, right? Do you think this makes Go more complicated to understand? Because I remember usually people who come into Go, they come from two directions. Either they come from a low level language and then all the pointers and new and whatever is easy because it's easier in Go.
Yeah.
Like if you're coming from C++, this is not complicated for you, right?
Right.
This is super simple. What I'm talking about are people like moving from Kotlin or Python or JavaScript or Ruby. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
These languages where you aren't exposed to these like low level concepts of pointers and memory management and things like that. Do you think that this makes the language less approachable for them?
I don't
in
think
any
so.
significant way, or is it actually making it simpler because you don't have that gotcha of I can't do this thing which I think I should have been able to do?
So that's a good question, and I hadn't really thought about it. But what I think my answer is that whatever gotchas there were already exist in that new word. Calling new on a type is already a little bit weird, especially if you're not familiar with pointers. Like you're not, you get this thing like I got this magical pointer to a zero value. Like first, what's a zero value? That's a new concept to most people coming to Go. And what's a pointer? So that's already confusing. I think pointing to a specific value is actually less confusing. So I think the new added behavior probably will be more intuitive to newcomers than the existing behavior.
New 3 makes sense.
Yeah.
It's very explicit. Like new and then pass the number 3 into it. Instead of just having it on the stack, I'll have it on the heap and I'll have a pointer.
Yeah.
That to me feels pretty obvious. But the new, just pass an int, I think they'll I know, I'll never allow it in a code review.
That's already weird. And virtually the only time I ever use that, by the way, is when I'm using generics. And that's sometimes the only way to instantiate a generic value.
True. Sometimes you need a new T.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That makes sense, actually. I always forget about generics in Go because, I'm trying to...
You don't need them that often. Yeah.
Yeah, what you said. All right. I can't believe we worked through our this week backlog, but we still have the lightning round.
Ooh.
Lightning round.
First up in the lightning round, you ever use Postgres, Shai?
All the time. And literally, I was late for this recording session because I was on a design meeting at our team talking about let's not add Redis to our stack. Let's just use Postgres. It has a cache. It's fine. Leave it alone. You can do everything with Postgres. It's fine.
I love that take because I convinced a client to do the same thing a few months ago to get rid of Redis and just use Postgres. Do you use PGX for Postgres?
As you know, and you're spreading salt on my wounds right now. At work, I'm doing TypeScript, not Go. But if I were to use Postgres, I would definitely use PGX.
Because I was hoping you would say yes, so I could say you're already running my code in production, but I can't quite say that. So PGX, which if you're not familiar, is a driver for Postgres that sits pretty low level to the Postgres API itself. So it's one of the most performant Go drivers for Postgres. It's not standard library compliant, although it does have a compatibility shim if you need to use that. But regardless, it's a very popular library, and they just released version 5.7.6, We don't usually talk about point releases of random packages, but this one is interesting to me because I contributed to it.
Woohoo.
The PGX pool package, if you're not familiar, is the part that manages pools of connections. And I contributed a new hook to the PGX pool. So if you need to do some validation or something on a connection as it's pulled from that pool, I added a hook to make that more robust than what was already there. So I was excited to see that.
Prepare the connection.
Yeah. So
why would I use that for?
So the reason I'm using it is I need to set the role for the connection at the time the connection is set based on a value stored in the context.
Yes.
Which is easy to do. The problem is, what if somebody puts a bogus value in the context to a role that doesn't exist in Postgres? Then it generates an error. And there was no way with the old hook to say, this is invalid, don't do this. And it would result in an infinite loop.
That's actually such a pragmatic use case. You just wanted to set the role of everything to the app, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or a specific user based on. That's awesome. And just upgrade if you need this feature. It sounds like the sort of thing that people already implemented themselves. I know I implemented it myself just a few months ago for Node Postgres because it doesn't have that.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I'll steal that idea and implement it in Node Postgres. On the other end, it's Node, so whatever. As mentioned before in the show, Jonathan, you're naked.
I am.
So if you want a cool Gopher Hawaiian shirt, oh boy, do I have great news for you.
Tell me about it. Help me to clothe my naked body.
There's a repo from 2 weeks ago with images that have Hawaiian print type thing with gophers on them.
That's awesome.
That's it. I don't need to add anything else. If you know you want it, you already have the link open. It's in the show notes. And if you're like, what are you talking about? Hawaiian print with little cute gophers? Why are you talking about this? Then you don't.
The idea is you could upload this to your favorite print on demand service or whatever and have some cloth made and then make your own t-shirt or dress or whatever.
This is by Russ, and he said, if you do make something fun and are willing to share it, please send me a picture. So if you do print it out on a thing, go send him a picture. I'm sure he would really appreciate it. I don't know. Maybe we can do a combo. You know what? Maybe next week I'll have an update about this.
Ooh, I can't wait.
One last lightning round item from you, Jonathan, is about my all-time favorite format.
Woohoo.
YAML.
It won't be in the standard library, sadly, but there is a new fork of what used to be called, I think, go.pkg.in.yaml.v3 or something to that effect. That has been forked. That one I just mentioned has been archived since, I think, April. I think we even mentioned that on the show back then. So now the YAML project is maintaining I guess you could call it the official Go YAML package now. They adopted one that was not official but was heavily used. It is now adopted by the YAML project. I think that makes it official, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, they support various versions, but they're frozen. And, it has, YAML has different flavors. So
yes.
This might not work for you because, I don't know, it uses YAML bulls, which if you're using Go YAML to parse GitHub Actions, won't work for you because it says on GitHub Action syntax says on : to say on push or on pull request.
Mm-hmm.
If you use this library, it's going to be translated to the word true.
All right.
So
right.
To the value true. So, it's official in the sense that it's official, but it might not work for your specific use case. And it's very important to remember that. Although I think there might be a way to configure it. I haven't tried it yet. But it just gives me more confidence to use a library that I feel won't be super abandoned in 2 seconds. And it's fully covered with tests and whatever. All the problems I have with it are actually problems with YAML.
But you love YAML.
Yeah, for sure. If I had to use it, I know which library I'm going to recommend by default from now on.
Yeah. There are, of course, other libraries, and even the YAML.org mentions at least 2 others for Go. So it's not like they're trying to rule the world with this if you have a need for another one. Another popular one is the one from Kubernetes. It's not on their list. But there are several, sure. So you could certainly choose others. But I still think it's a great thing to have a very popular library no longer in archive mode and getting updates.
For Ishai's, if he had to pick a YAML library to implement his the leader election thing, I would tell him to depend on the Kubernetes one and not this one, because he's already depending on the Kubernetes one because he's depending on Kubernetes, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
It's difficult. If Kubernetes moves to using this one, then it's like a complete takeover. But I think there's zero chance of this happening.
All right. Well, I think we're through our lightning round. I think we've talked about as much news as we can muster for the week.
Yeah.
And I will not be here next week, so I hope you have a good time.
Yeah, we're talking with a few potential co-hosts. Worst case, I'll do the show alone. And yeah, thank you all very much for listening and for putting up with us missing last week. Now we're both back on our feet, and we got a lot of love on the Slack channel as well. It's like it's a tiny little thing, but I really appreciated it. It made me feel nice. That's it.
All right. Well, until next time.
Program exited.
Program exited. Goodbye.